So the reason we started Soil was because we felt very concerned that management education was not focusing on more aspects other than shareholder value creation. And most students were seeking was education that can get them good jobs at a certain high salary. And business itself was focusing too much on these aspects, and they were not taking responsibility for the state of the planet, the state of the world. And we felt that business has more power than even governments. Unilever on both sides of India-Pakistan border does more to build partnerships than the two governments, for example. So we wanted to provide that kind of education where people would come to workplaces and contribute in living their highest dreams at workplaces. So if they were wanting the world to be more compassionate, more ethical, more inclusive, we wanted education to focus on that, because we keep talking about the world for our children should be like this. And on the other hand, we ourselves keep making compromises. So character of people to us was most important, followed by the competence to think with the whole mind, not just have a functional knowledge of management. And third, the enthusiasm and resilience to say, I know what my purpose is, I have a dream, I know what my strengths are, and I know how to leverage my strengths towards what matters to me. That gives enthusiasm. So this is the vision. Build leaders with strong character, whole systems thinking, and the enthusiasm to make a difference. And 11 years later, with 1,100 alumni working all over the world, the most wonderful blessing we have received is that many of our alumni are fantastic brand ambassadors. Not only have they got into key companies and are making the impact everywhere, the feedback that we get is, your alumni are different. They are more team-oriented. They are more sensitive to the community. They always raise their hands when it comes to giving back to society. And they are very, very unique in their perspective. So this is what, and I think it's been a great blessing, because we keep studying how our alumni make impact. And we are very, very blessed with the kind of impact that our alumni are making. The 1-year PGPM program is meant for people with a certain number of years of experience. And these are people who want to take a year off from their education and invest in themselves, because they have this dream of doing something new in their life, and our education gives them wings. And we did not want to go for any government regulation, because the program is extremely innovative. And in a 1-year program, you cannot add the curriculum which the government regulator gives you and also do all the experiments that we have done. For instance, we teach yoga and meditation. 1 day in a week, our students work with NGOs. We have all kinds of very unique programs. We have theater-based simulations with top theater artists. Now, all these require the practice of what we call leaders with being. And then the leaders with knowing, which many other schools also focus on. And finally, the leaders for doing. So this knowing, being, and doing is all combined together in Soil. That's why character, competence, and enthusiasm. And we wanted autonomy in the way we thought through this. At the same time, we understood that some parents of students especially were concerned that is this program recognized by the government, and this feedback used to come to us. So we then said, okay, for that reason, let's also create a separate campus, a separate program, which is a 2-year program, in which we will also honor the government curriculum. But in 2 years, we have the flexibility to do all the innovative things that we do, and in addition, do what the government wants to give. Also, I must say the government regulator has advanced very much. I think in the last few years, it has become also very contemporary in thinking. Its own curriculum has been revised. So I think the timing has been good. That's why we have both the programs. 1-year program has 3 tracks that, in addition to building all these strong values and character and systems thinking that I was talking about, and the leadership dimension, there is a track on analytics and digital. There's a track on marketing, and there's a track on human resources. So the digital marketing and analytics track put together, we call it business leadership. And the HR track, we call HR leadership. So these are, and in fact, from this year, 2021, we are offering a brand new program, PGPM program, which is a full-fledged 1-year intensive PGPM in analytics and digital, which means it's not just a track of 300 hours, but it is full 800 hours of content, specially catering to digital and analytics, in addition to all other soft aspects. That's in Gurgaon campus. In our Manesar campus, which is called New Gurgaon, we have the 2-year postgraduate program, which is called the Program of Business Design. The first part is liberal arts. That is the one which helps students to develop the empathy which they require to understand the requirements of society and industry and customers. The second part is design thinking, which is human-centered innovation, which teaches all the wonderful frameworks and skills for design thinking. And the third dimension is the management aspects with focus on analytics, digital, marketing, human resource, and so on. So it's a fascinating interdisciplinary program. Perhaps the only other school in the world which has that is the Rotterman School in University of Toronto, which the dean there was also ahead of his time, and they started a whole new program on business design. So we, in that sense, maybe the second such program in the world to focus on business design. For selection, we want to make sure that you have a minimum 60% marks in your major examinations like 10th, 12th, bachelor's exams. Then we want to make sure that you are put through our own test, which is we call the soil aptitude test. And for that stat, as we call it, that stat, we are looking at all dimensions, not just your analytical ability and abstract reasoning that a GMAT or CAT does. We do that. But beyond that, your creativity. Beyond that, your empathy and emotional intelligence. Beyond that, your resilience. So we look at, it's a combination of both the analytical test and a psychometric test. And this we have developed with the help of a wonderful company who are also our next door neighbors on the other side, Metal, which has now become part of Mercer. So their psychologists helped us to do it and test its reliability and so on. And later on, we also recommended it to SP Jain, and they also adopted it for one of their programs, actually, the same test. So we use that. And then we have a very interesting format of interviewing, which is like almost like a design workshop, in which the interview is all about understanding how students respond to new context and new situation. And also we ask them several questions of the kind that if they had limited time and resources, what are their dreams for their lives and how would they manifest those dreams? So there are some very interesting ways we are trying to look at the values of students very deeply and trying to understand what they care about and their overall thinking and abilities rather than only analytical intelligence. And we love people from small towns with big dreams. I mean, somehow we think that they don't have that entitlement mindset and they're willing to work harder for the sake of their dreams. The industry partnership is all about involving industry in designing curriculum, mentoring students, giving them projects, and also teaching them case studies, and finally hiring them. Our placements have been extremely good over the last 11 years. Here is what we promise to our students. By the time the program is over, 70 to 80% of you will find the jobs that match your experience and your interest and your locational choices. The 20-30% of you who are unique in your background and who have certain preferences may get placed within 3 months of graduating. That has been our experience. In a good year, more than 80-90% get placed before they pass out. In a difficult year, 70% get placed by the time they pass out. But within 3 months of passing out, almost everybody gets a good placement. That has been our experience over 11 years. In the 1-year program, we have experimented with different models. We had, in the first few years, we experimented with what are called action learning projects. In the next several years, we tried 4 weeks internships. Then at the request of some industry, we extended it to 6 weeks internship. And all these models have been experimented with. Our latest preferred option after doing many things is live projects, which students do with the sponsorship of industry. And these days, because of digital, it's very much possible for you not to just go away for an extended period for internship, but to do live projects with them on digital platform. and deliver it. So that is the platform that we have now chosen. There is no such thing that you go away, because in a one-year program, no other school also offers internship. But we have found this happy via media after experimenting with various things, where we have live projects and with digital participation. And if there are local companies, then maybe to some extent going a few times there, but mostly delivered digital. That's what we have thought about. The extent we are talking about people wanting an actual experience of brick and mortar, visiting a campus, smelling the place as it is called, getting a feel of the culture, I think then the location makes a big difference. At the same time, because post-COVID especially, the entire paradigm has changed dramatically. Now people are wanting to understand more through a digital immersion what kind of institute you have. And fortunately for us, for SOIL, because we have fantastic global reach, during COVID, we were able to provide some of the best minds in the world. And I watch my words very carefully, the best minds in the world to interact with our students. And that's because they were always willing, but they were not able to, of course, travel to be with our students. So that has been a real blessing. So I would say going into the future, no school can just afford to be a brick and mortar kind who wants the local companies to come. There will be some of that, and there will also be this global reach through digital where we can get the best minds to interact and the best companies to interact with our schools. The persona of the student we are looking for is somebody from the middle class whose parents have worked very hard, who have to take a loan for your education, and therefore they want you to be really acting responsibly. Somebody who has a dream to improve the life of his family and himself to make it better, but somebody who really also wants to make a difference in society. Somebody who has strong values and dreams for the country and for the planet. And somebody, which is most important, is willing to slog and put in extraordinary effort. Because I must caution students, it's a very high pressure program. If sometimes some students don't feel comfortable, it's because it's of extreme pressure. You know, we really stretch our students, and we believe that serves them very well when they later on get into industry. But the kind of pressure that we have is not just the pressure in terms of number of hours, but the pressure where you are expected to challenge your own values and assumptions. Talk about why don't you have a calling and a purpose in life? Why don't you find some worthwhile cause that you can serve? And this is not easy for a young person. So I think this is something that we really challenge our students to get out of their comfort zone and challenge their assumptions. So I think that's the persona. I think we love the brand ambassador, like we can't afford to have him, but I always talk about people like Mahendra Singh Dhoni. Small town, talent, but really work hard and focus on the process and dedicate everything for the success of your team and the organization. I think that's the kind of leader that we are attempting to develop in SOIL. What organizations are looking for a lot, they are valuing people who are adaptable, who have greater self-awareness, who can use the power of their whole mind, and who can deal with people who are very diverse and who are not like them. And lastly, organizations value a lot of people who do not take failure as something to hide behind, but failure as an opportunity to fail quickly and learn and get up and be resilient to take responsibility. These are all aspects that we focus on. Our whole learning design is based on that methodology. The whole social innovation program where students get out of their comfort zone, work with NGOs where their aspirations are higher than their resources. That makes that social innovation occur. Then we send them to Himalayas where they go and see the work of Chinmaya Organization of Rural Development, where the poorest of the poor, the women have transformed themselves through self-help groups. They go and sit with the women in their context, in their homes, they learn from that. And then they use theater, music, literature, dance to narrate the stories of the women of Kangra. And the women of the Kangra, their leaders, come and listen to our students narrate their stories through these creative methods based on what they learned through their field visit. And you know, this is a very transformational aspect when they go to Sidbadi in the Himalayas and spend that week there. is fascinating. Next, when people like Lucian Dubé, the theater artists, come in and they simulate actually ethical dilemmas using the power of theater, students really challenge their assumptions. Then when companies sponsor something called boot camps to solve real problems, for example, air pollution problem in Gurgaon, how will we apply our whole mind to come out with answers when we invite people from government and the local community and industry to participate? So I think we really are trying to develop leaders for the context. And this is not like reading something which they can one day use, but in the current context, how can their education help them to make a difference? That's our whole attempt. It's multiple intelligences and context-based learning. Our programs are all co-created by our industry consortium and active recruiters. They actually participate and take the effort in looking at learning outcomes, looking at what kind of design do we have to our curriculum, look at what kind of resources we are using, look at what kind of cases we are using. And they often contribute to that learning by providing context and providing specific problems that they want our students to work on. So it's a very active, it's almost like soil is a learning laboratory in which our companies are posing us continuous problems and they are helping us to develop approaches, not that they give answers, to get approaches so students learn how to learn. And I think this extremely agile partnership between industry and soil is real time. So continuously new courses are being added as industry is developing and seeing things ahead of time. And there are many examples. I mean, this whole new program in digital is as a result of this co-creation with industry, and it's fascinating. And for every program like this, we have an advisory board, which consists of the best practitioners from industry, working with the academics. So thoughtful practitioners and extremely practical academics. The two work together in designing this approach.